Presiding. Court come to order.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Good morning.
All right. Sorry, everybody present?
Everybody's present?
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, councilors, we're back on the record in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Khalif Adams et al. In 22 SC 183572. Let me go ahead and take roll for the morning. Mr. Stillwell and Mr. Sharp, good morning. All right, Mr. Williams, Mr. Steele, Mr. Adams, good morning. All right, Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Weinstein, good morning. All right, Mr. Huey and Mr. Matthews Senior, good morning. All right, Mr. Nichols and Mr. Garner, good morning. Mr. Ryan and Ms. D. Williams, good morning. All right. All right, Mr. Brown, Mr. Smith, Mr. Helsky, Mr. Atkins, ladies, Miss Love and Miss Hilton, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, all right.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Put a 1 in the chat. I can't scream. I have people around me. Put a 1 in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. Before the jurors come out, put a 1 in the chat. All right, Vanderveer, Social Light in the City. Welcome our new member, Miss Dwana A. See you in the building. Honeybee.
The issue that was presented last night before we left was involving the Mr. Stillwell's conviction and its redaction and other uses that the state wishes to get into. The court had an opportunity to think about that this evening, or I should say yesterday evening, this morning. I'm of the opinion that from looking at some case law that while the redactions are fine, that's the only purpose that they're going to be used for. I believe that you have sufficient evidence at this point in time. So,
of course,
I'm not going to permit it any other use other than what the intended redactions for. Okay.
Yes, John.
All right.
And that was part of the reason that I had not sent questions, is that I had decided to not pursue that further line of questioning. I did want to ask before the jury came out, Your Honor. There were questions asked on cross-examination by one of the counsels for one of the defendants as to Sergeant Gaither's expertise. I would ask that the court, in light of the way that the case law lines out that we have to demarcate, I would ask that for the portion of the questions that I have remaining, that the court demarcate that we will be asking expert opinion testimony, much like when a medical examiner is qualified as an expert, but that medical examiner also personally observes certain facts and certain pieces of evidence, and then that medical examiner at the end gives that medical examiner's opinion. I did not specifically ask, and I intend to, unless the court tells me I cannot, I intend to ask Sergeant Gaither additional, not many, about 10 expert questions based on the cross-examination.
Sir.
Your Honor, first of all, thank you for your consideration of the issue that I raised yesterday. I don't concur with the state that the state held off on asking questions. A very improper question was posed to the witness. The state, if there was a questionable issue.
Okay, what questionable issue? Frame it and be focused on it.
The question was essentially inquiring into Mr. Stillwell pleading guilty to 10 SC 87 2 gang charges.
Okay, we talked about that yesterday. Remember the bench.
I understand.
Okay, so what additional issues do you want to raise, or is there something else you want to invite my attention to?
I'm going to ask I'm going to ask something of the court in a second.
What is it? What is it? Bottom line up front.
Okay, I'm going to
What
ask
do you
for,
wanna
the state should have checked before asking that question and putting that in the atmosphere. I'm going to ask for a curative instruction that the jurors are to completely disregard the last question posed by the
What
state.
question? What question was that?
Judge, what are you doing, sir?
Whether
Let him
Shannon, I
get
can't
it
quote
out.
exactly, but it was inquiring about Shannon Stillwell pleading guilty to gang charges and being charged with Kenneth Copeland.
Okay, and what are you saying is improper about that?
Well, that's exactly what the case law says should not happen. It was, the conviction was for a limited purpose. Now, I'll remind the court, the state entered, if I may approach this a bit, the state entered 3 convictions for my client, 31Q, 30Q, 2Q, and 33Q. They need 1 conviction, certified conviction, to show that my client is a convicted felon, to fulfill the purpose of the stated purpose of these convictions. Over my objection, I can't tell you the date, but when these were entered, over my objection, I offered to stipulate that he's a convicted felon. I said that 3's too many. They were still allowed in. The facts and the co-defendants are completely irrelevant, and that's the basis of your ruling, I believe, Your Honor. And all I'm asking for—
Well, no, that's not the total based on my ruling. I'm going to hear from the state as to whether or not the person that they mentioned, is there a separate basis about that? But the conviction, I mean, that's what it says. That's what the charging document says. Then, I mean, I don't know, unless it was redacted as to other things, but I don't believe it was redacted as to people.
Well, Your Honor, I was objecting to the admission, but as Your Honor knows, the way we've been conducting this trial, we've been admitting things in totality and then agreeing that we're going to have to figure out what goes back with the jury later on. Certainly, before the close of, or when evidence closes in this case and we're determining what goes back to the jury or not, I'm going to be asking Your Honor to order the state to draw up a redacted version of this indictment to remove Kenneth Copeland from the indictment, unless there's a basis for it. Unless there's a basis for it.
Okay, well, let me hear from the state. Let me see if there's a basis for it. Okay, but as to your other issues in regards to the state getting into other collateral matters, I'm gonna sustain that particular issue. And I think the state's withdrawn their desire to go into anything else.
And Your Honor, and I appreciate that. And the only thing I'm asking for is a curative instruction.
I'll decide that whether or not
Okay.
once the state gives me a rationale as to Kenneth Copeland.
Do you need these at all?
As long as it's—
All right, so Ms. Love, do you understand Mr. Shart's issue in terms of Kenneth Copeland being on the indictment and saying that he's asking for a curative instruction as to that? Is there a legal basis for Mr. Copeland to be on the indictment that goes to the case in your case in chief?
Your Honor, there is, but at this time, again, we're not pursuing further questioning along those lines. As to the redaction, Your Honor, I would ask that the court allow us to more thoroughly get into that argument and that point after we have completed the witness, with the court's permission, after we have completed testimony for the day. The reason that I ask that, Your Honor, is that this evidence has already come out to the jury. What I asked the witness is not evidence. I do not believe that there is a legal basis to strike the question that I asked. The witness did not even answer the question.
But you introduced the question to the witness, and I believe Mr. Copeland's name was mentioned. Is there a separate legal theory about that? Or are you conceding that I should give a curative instruction as to that issue?
I'm definitely not conceding that there is a separate legal basis for it, Your Honor. When it was first introduced, it was introduced in total. We have, the jury has already heard testimony about who is on that indictment. It has actually been displayed for the jury. The fact that they were charged with gang activity is evidence that came out at the time that it was introduced, to the best of my recollection. And at this point, to tell the jury that they should strike or disregard the question that I asked does not properly take into consideration the fact that the question that I asked had to do with evidence that had already been put before the jury a long time prior to now.
All right.
Your Honor, I don't have a clear recollection of whether it was displayed or not, but what I do know, if it was displayed, it was over my objection. So if
We don't know that. Did you object? Can you state definitively that you did object?
we approached the bench and we had a conversation
At the
about-
time that the earlier indictment was
when
in
the
fact.
state started, and this is my recollection, but I'm saying this with 99.5% certainty. When the state started introducing my client's certified convictions, I objected, and I objected, and we did it at the bench, Your Honor. And that was for the 3 convictions. I believe they're 31, 32, and 33Q. So if it was done over my objection, I don't know how and there was potentially issues that we're now reconsidering. I don't know. It doesn't make that argument that, well, we did something before that wasn't quite right, so now we have to continue down that road. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think we need to cure it now.
I think we're good, Mr. Sharp. I mean, I understand your argument and what you're saying. I'm gonna, since the state is backing off that, and I do believe the jury anyways has information about Mr. Copeland from earlier testimony. I'm not going to, I'm going to deny your motion at this point in time for curative instruction.
And just for the record, Your Honor, based on that denial, I would like to renew my motion for a mistrial.
And your motion has been noted and denied.
Thank you.
Okay, before the next question. All right, so can we call for our jurors? Hold on.
Morning, sir. Can I just make 2 statements or observations or questions, I guess?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mr. Botts.
Good morning to you also.
Your Honor,
And what are to frame it, what does it pertain to?
3 issues. One, I'd like to have a current CV of this witness, the way it reads now, and I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that Ms. Hilton sent you one last night, which I'll include as the email and the CV as the next court's exhibit in order. That was sent last night. I want to say.
It was this morning.
This morning.
Let's see.
That was sent this morning, sir, about, oh, wow,
I missed it.
8:45 a.m. Okay.
Okay, I missed it. Thank you. I'll look at it right now. And I appreciate it. In addition, 2 other issues. My notes, and of course, I have to go with the honorable court reporter, but I don't have Mr. Stillwell's priors being shown or displayed to the jury. I have them admitted into the record and announced what they were. But I don't have any note that it was read on that he was convicted along with Mr. Copeland. So I don't.
Maybe the state can tell you that. I can't tell you off the top of my head without doing a little research.
I can't.
Ms. Love
It's at my notes.
or Ms. Hilton?
Your Honor, I would ask that we would, if we needed to get a timestamp or a particular place, that we be allowed to do that after the witnesses have testified, as we're not going into that. But secondly, Your Honor, Sergeant Gaither has personal knowledge in her role as an investigator of the relationship and association between Copeland and Stillwell. So even without referencing the conviction itself, we would we don't intend to further that line of questioning, but we would be able to ask her about the relationship she is aware of between various members of YSL. That's not what we intend to do, but with Mr. Steele's question, we would have to go look back at the record, and I don't think that at this point
Okay.
that's a endeavor that we should undertake, but I'll do what the court tells me to do.
All right, Mr. Steele?
And the third part is, I'd like specificity. I know you didn't rule, but why are we going backwards on expertise and opinions of this witness? I don't know what the state, I heard their claim, but I don't know what the state is saying, that somehow they now need to redo what they've already done. So they said they have 10 questions or something to that effect, whatever they just said to you, but I'm asking the court to limit and exclude it because it is already, that ship has passed. We can't keep going backwards and then forwards on lay and expert. It's already made, well, you ruled on it. So that's my final objection.
Yeah, why are we going backwards anyways?
Your Honor, two things. One, we're not going backwards. We're asking,
Well, how come you couldn't ask them when you qualified her as an expert?
Your Honor, in much the same way that we do with medical examiners and other experts that have both a fact knowledge of a certain case and a level of expertise, prior to us asking her about a specific set of facts, we wanted to actually introduce evidence of the facts themselves. We would ask that the court, as Hawkins and Golden Peanut requires, that there is a demarcation, but there's never been a prohibition on the expert testifying both as a fact and as an expert witness.
Yeah, I think Hawkins in the Golden Peanut case more so require that you have to have an expert that's qualified.
Right.
I believe in those cases you did not have your expert was not qualified. So he gave expert testimony, the officer, but he didn't in the Golden Peanut case. But okay. All right, Mr. Steele, I'm subject to foundation. We'll see where it goes, okay?
Can we at least inquire on, yes, of course it's okay. And can the court at least inquire into what, this mystery to me of what this new evidence is that wasn't discussed and somehow now is relevant? Otherwise, all we do is approach the bench. It's you always are gracious and let us approach, but she's been on the stand with the state for, I don't know, 3 days?
Okay, but there's 6 examiners and 7 examiners and a lot of stuff. So
Just whatever you say, I'll object.
all right, well, what are we going to get into, Miss Love, anyway? So I can keep things kind of moving.
Yes, Judge. I would ask her, given her background, knowledge, training, and experience, what factors led her to identify, what was it that led her to qualify or classify YSL as a gang?
That's been asked and answered already.
It wasn't, the court did not permit that question. They objected on the basis of her giving the law, and the court did not.
All right,
permit
okay.
that.
All right.
I would ask the witness, what about the April 12th shooting of Dexter Montgomery, what about that caused her to conclude, in her opinion as an expert, what about that particular incident qualifies it as gang activity? What elements did she look at that showed that it was in furtherance of YSL? I did not ask or get to ask that question. They said that she would be giving the law on that. I believe that, just 1 second, Your Honor. Let me see that. Yes, I'm right. Let me see. And that's generally the questions regarding her expertise or her opinion as an expert beginning into. What about this crime led her or leads her to conclude or does she believe that this crime was in furtherance of the gang, of a gang? What gang does she, in her expert opinion, based on her knowledge, training, experience, does she believe that this crime was done in furtherance of? And what about this crime led her to that conclusion? Those are the expert questions that I intend to get into.
All right. Bless you. Mr. Weinstein. Mr. Weinstein, can you approach, please? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Your Honor, the Honorable Keith Adams told me that he remembers these questions being asked. You sustained objections, and we moved on.
That was before she was qualified as an expert though, but anyways, yes.
No, you did the qualifications first.
Yeah.
Before any question. Second of all, Your Honor, this is just what I asked you before, and I know you said we're going to safeguard it. Detective Belknap has testified that, over objection, that YSL is a criminal street gang. I mean, we don't need those questions again, one. Two, this witness testified that YSL is a criminal street gang, and she named people in it. And over objection, actually mistrial at the bench that I made, along with everyone else, I'm not excluding anyone. She actually said that the April 12, 2015 incident, that's the Mr. Montgomery
Yes.
incident, this witness actually just blurted out, that's my word, on cross-examination, that this was a YSL criminal street gang that furthered the gang's activity.
Okay, but remember what happened prior to that. Mr. Shart, was the examiner, and his line of questioning goaded this witness. So that's what the court observed. And I know, Mr. Shart, you probably have a contrary opinion, but that's what the court's reflection of your examination was as to that point.
I would ask that the transcript be reviewed.
Well, you know what? The transcript is silent as to what the physical manifestations and motivations of counsel, and that's what I'm adding. So if the case is reviewed, they'll be able to show that what the court observed was your actions. So that's all right. That's fine. Okay. I mean, certainly the transcript will certainly reflect what it reflects, but it doesn't pick up the other things that the court just added for that purpose.
Throw and sifting cross-examination, Your Honor, nothing more.
All right, go on, Mr. Steele.
But that is objectionable because under, which you already ruled on, Purcell, P-E-R-C-E-L-L versus State, it's 346 Georgia Appeal, 219, 2018, where the second highest court in our state said under 24-4-704, no expert can testify to an element of the offense that goes to mental state, not just competency or insanity, as the state argued in Purcell. The statute applies to all, I'm reading, criminal proceedings, not just those in which a defendant's competency is at issue. In criminal proceedings, expert witnesses testifying with respect to the mental state or opinion or condition of an accused cannot state an opinion or inference as to whether the accused did or did not have the mental state or condition constituting an element of the crime charge or a defense thereto, because such ultimate issues, even under new evidence code, are matters left to the jury alone. And here, to say that this crime was done to further, that's with the intent to further the interests of the gang, is mental state.
No, I disagree, sir. I respectfully disagree. I mean, I think that's I think that certainly there are elements to the crime or the purported crime in question, but that doesn't necessarily go to the mental state or of what what is being presented.
Well, I would ask the court under any or all of those reasons, including the fact that this is being hit so hard.
Yeah, I'm tempted at this point in time, Ms. Love, and I told you this yesterday. It's cumulative of a lot of stuff, and so, and I think that we're kind of getting afoul of that. So, I would ask that you not go back into those particular areas again.
Your Honor, with respect to the court and to counsels, Your Honor, under ordinary circumstances, for one case, we would have a single gang expert. I noticed that the assertion is made over and over that we have had Detective Belknap testify. We have over 28 different cases here. We have people who are involved in each of these cases. Out of 28 cases, we only have 5. The way that we normally conduct cases, we would have an expert per case that we tried. In this particular case, Your Honor, Detective Belknap did not have anything to do with this particular act. And as we stated at the beginning, Your Honor, our experts, we do not intend that they overlap, but they will be testifying about things that the other experts they did not testify about, they're not talking about. And the fact that Detective Sergeant Gaither has been qualified as an expert by Your Honor, the jury still has to weigh and decide how or whether they even believe it. And so what the defense does by asking that the court not allow the state to inquire the basis for her conclusion is that they hamstring the jury's ability to decide whether or not they believe her and to gauge her credibility. So what has happened, Your Honor, is by saying that it's cumulative, it misstates the fact or misstates reality, in Your Honor, in that we have not had any expert at all talk about what Detective Gaither has talked about, the fact that she determined as a matter separate from Detective Belknap that she classified YSL as a gang and that she then had to make a determination about the acts that occurred in April 2015. These are matters that the jury has not heard from the witness about. And these are matters that allow the jury to weigh her testimony as the court has instructed them that they should. So we are not we're not rehashing any matters that Detective Belknap talked about. And in fact, if I believe correctly, counsel for defendants thoroughly crossed Detective Belknap, and the implication was it was to call into question his qualifications as an expert. And every time that's done, Your Honor, that heightens rather the need for and the probative value of testimony from a different person who saw things from a different perspective. Each time that an expert's expertise is challenged, that is what they're doing. So we respectfully ask that the court allow us to ask the basis for her opinions, and especially when she has now testified about particular facts that no other expert has told the jury about at all.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. The challenge that we're having at this point in time is there are some things that don't necessarily need to be replowed. And I asked you yesterday to be very judicious about that because you will draw an objection and at a time, and I will sustain it as being cumulative. That's not what you started out with telling me. I mean, so if you're telling me that's what the specific reason you're going to ask her and is for the basis for her opinion, that's one thing. I don't think that's been testified to. I think I'll probably allow that. But let's just kind of be mindful of what we've covered so far, okay? All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
So with that, I'm going to call for our jurors.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Sergeant Ingram?
Do you have anything you think I need to ask?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, thank you, Sergeant Ingram.
Yeah, may we call
Yeah, your witness, I think we're going to get her. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, good morning. Good morning. All right, we're going to continue at this point in time, so just give us a second. All right, good morning, Detective Gaither. Madam, you're still under oath? All right, you may continue, Ms. Lowe.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant Gaither, you were qualified earlier in this trial as an expert by the court. I want to ask you, given that you talked about your knowledge of YSL members being interested in music, would you tell the jury the basis for your classification of YSL as a criminal street gang?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled, sir.
Based on information we had from police reports, members, activities, criminal activities in the community, as well as their willingness to display.
Overruled, sir. That was Brian, that was Mr. Steele, confrontation clause. All right, overruled.
As well as their willingness to display their gang ties, whether it's through their clothing, tattoos, posting information on social media, referencing their gang, as well as committing crimes. That's how we categorize YSL as a criminal street gang.
And were you aware of crimes that at least 3 members of YSL had committed in furtherance of YSL?
Yes.
Give it to me. Give it to me. All right. Overruled. Sustained, sir. That's the form. Yeah, get his phone.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Are you aware of crimes committed in furtherance of YSL?
Objection, Your Honor, under Purcell.
I'm overruled the objection.
There have been crimes committed in furtherance of YSL.
Is it 15?
And,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you testified that you took out,
Objection to the form of the question.
I sustain the objection, sir.
with respect to the crimes that occurred regarding Dexter Montgomery, based on your background, training, and experience in the area of criminal street gangs, in your opinion, were those crimes committed as related to Dexter Montgomery committed in furtherance?
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis.
Reading.
Overruled, sir. Mr. Sharp?
Objection, Your Honor. Improper topic for witness, expert witness testimony.
Overruled, sir. Mr. Steele?
Objection under Purcell, P-E-R-C-E-L-L versus
Oh,
State.
overruled, sir.
24-7.
Overruled, sir.
Were those crimes committed in furtherance of a criminal street gang?
Yes, it was.
What criminal street gang?
Objection. Yes, and answer.
Overruled, sir.
YSL.
Would you please tell the jury the basis for your conclusion in your expert opinion that these crimes were committed in furtherance of the gang YSL?
Same objection, yes, and answer,
Oh.
again under Purcell.
Overruled, sir.
Same objection, leading, Your Honor.
Overruled, sir.
You may answer the question for the jury, please.
Yes. I came to the conclusion that the criminal act that YSL committed was considered criminal street gang activity based upon the persons that were involved in the crime, which was Walter Murphy. He was a confirmed member of YSL. Demaz McMullen was a confirmed member of YSL, as well as Kelvin Treadwell was a confirmed member of YSL. Another factor that I used was Mr. Murphy's, he was pretty popular in the neighborhood and a lot of people knew him. He also had a tattoo on his face that said YSL, and he made no effort to cover up the tattoo, to disguise it, and the brazenness of the actual crime, which made it, in my opinion, in furtherance of YSL, the act.
Thank you. And I want to, Your Honor, at this point, ask related to a question on cross about a fact that was made.
Objection to the form of this question.
I'll sustain the objection. Just ask the question. ma'am.
Okay. You were asked on cross-examination about your role in the Donovan Thomas murder. Do you recall that?
Yes.
What was your role in the Donovan Thomas murder investigation, if any?
Objection asked and answered.
Overrule, sir.
I wasn't the lead detective on the case, but our major crimes unit, which includes homicide gang, the gang unit, other units, we work in conjunction with each other. So although I was not the lead detective on the actual murder case, my partner and I were working several shootings and incidents in and around the Donovan Thomas murder. So we did help Investigator Thorpe as much as we could, but we also were working independent cases that were still related to the actual homicide.
And as it relates to your efforts to assist Thorpe, did you make any effort to obtain surveillance footage that may have related to the Donovan Thomas murder or what happened thereafter?
Yes, we received information that
Objection confrontation clause.
With that,
I'll sustain the objection as to form. You
just,
can rephrase.
yes, Your Honor. Did you go anywhere to obtain surveillance footage that may have given information about participants in the murder?
yes,
And where did you go?
the McDonald's on Cleveland Avenue, right at Old Hayville Road.
And were you successful in obtaining or getting surveillance footage from that location?
I was not.
You were asked on cross-examination about whether or not anyone had been tried or was anyone on trial at the time of January 16, 2015, that the video that was played for the jury yesterday was posted on Demekion Garlington's
Wrong
account.
date, I'll object to the form of question.
I'll sustain this as a form of question. You can rephrase.
Do you recall the video shown to the jury where Jeffrey Williams said, if you come into the court and tell the God's honest truth, you need to get killed, that's for me and YSL?
That's not a fair summary. of what we-
Mr. Steele,
Yes.
please make a valid objection and don't speak.
Form of the question is not a fair summary.
That's not an objection, sir.
Okay? The
Just
question being asked
is what?
is
Is
not.
it improper question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I sustain the objection. Do you have an objection, Mr. Matthews? All right. Okay.
I
All right.
rephrase.
You can rephrase.
Do you recall showing or seeing a video with the jury yesterday involving Jeffrey Williams speaking into the camera?
Yes,
Do you recall questions being asked of you on cross-examination about whether any trials were going on during that time?
I believe so.
To your knowledge, by the time that, by January 16th, 2015, had persons made any, come forth and made any statements regarding things that they knew about this crime, the Donovan Thomas murder?
Yes,
Had you spoken to persons that may have provided you information about the Donovan Thomas murder?
before January 16th? Or just period?
And I said the 16th, I meant the 26th.
26, okay.
By January the 26th of 2015, had you spoken with persons offering information?
Yes,
Would you tell the jury whether or not it was or is uncommon for that kind of information when people speak to the police to leak out into the community.
Objection, Your Honor. Cause for speculation in faith.
I'll sustain the objection. You can rephrase, madam.
Have you had instances where interrogations with people of interest have been leaked about your gang cases?
Objection, Your Honor, relevant.
Overrule, sir.
Yes.
Based on your experience with the gang unit, is snitching or talking to the police about crimes considered a good thing or a bad thing, generally speaking?
Objection, vague or way beyond expertise.
Overrule, sir.
From the suspect's point of view, or
From the suspects, from the people that you encounter when you're investigating these cases?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Overrule, sir.
You may
Yes.
answer.
it's generally not considered a good thing to talk to police.
One moment, Your Honor. And when you attempted to get the surveillance footage from the McDonald's,
Yes.
was it made available to you by anyone at the McDonald's?
No, it wasn't.
Did you pass this information along to the lead investigator in the case?
I did.
Is there anything that you did that you have not already talked about as it relates to the Donovan Thomas murder investigation?
Objection, Your Honor, vague.
I sustain the objection.
Was working the shootings and attempting to collect the surveillance footage from the McDonald's the majority, the main things that you did with the Donovan Thomas murder investigation?
Objection, vague.
Overrule, sir.
Yes.
Just one second. Thank you. That's all that I have at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Shark, any recross?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Investigator Gaither, good morning.
Good morning.
You were, that January 10th, 2015 case that you were investigating going to the McDonald's, that was a murder case, correct?
Objection as to the form of the question.
Overruled.
That was a murder case, correct?
I did not investigate the January 10th incident, sir.
You didn't go to the McDonald's? You just testified you went to the McDonald's. That wasn't about the January 10th, 2015 case?
You,
Your Honor, I object.
Basis.
Form of the question.
I'll sustain the objection.
Did you just
Right, sir.
testify that you went to McDonald's on Cleveland Avenue and Old Hayfield Road to retrieve surveillance?
I did.
Was that in relation to the investigation of the January 10th, 2015 murder case?
Correct.
Okay. Surely, as you were working a murder case, you would have written a report about your efforts to obtain this surveillance, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
So did you write a report or did you not write a report about going to the McDonald's on Old Hayfield and Cleveland Avenue in search of surveillance?
There was nothing to write, sir.
So you did not write a report.
There was nothing to write, sir.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you for an answer. Did you write a report?
Your Honor, I object. Asking the answer.
I sustain the
I haven't
objection.
received an answer, Your
I
Honor.
sustain the objection.
Okay. What day did you go to the McDonald's to obtain this surveillance?
It's the day after I spoke with a witness that gave me the information. I believe that day was January the 26th, I believe, the 26th or the 28th, somewhere in that range.
Okay. 26th to 28th. And do you or anyone else that you know of have a report reflecting that you went on the 26th or 28th?
Objection, ask and answer.
Sustained.
Okay. Who did you speak to at the McDonald's? What was their name?
The young lady that was working the counter,
Yes.
she did not give me her name. She gave me her general manager's name and phone number, and that information was passed along to Investigator Thorpe.
And what was the name?
I don't have it. I gave it to Investigator Thorpe. sir.
What was the phone number?
I don't have any information from the McDonald's. It was passed along to Investigator Thorpe.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, sir. Mr. Steele?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good day.
Good morning, sir.
Can I just ask you some clarifying questions about what you just were talking about?
Absolutely.
All right. You went to McDonald's 150, correct me, 150 Cleveland Avenue, does that sound right?
I'm not sure the exact address, but it's at the intersection of Cleveland Avenue and Old Hateville Road.
You're with Detective Dennis?
Yes.
All right. Anybody else with you?
No, in our vehicle?
Or
No,
in the McDonald's?
just Investigator Dennis and I and whoever was in McDonald's.
You're there on or about January 26th, 27th, or 28th? Does that sound right, 2015?
That's what I just stated, sir. Yes, sir.
You, along with in lockstep Detective Dennis, speak with the counter person, the person working at the counter at McDonald's. Fair to
Correct.
say?
Objection, Your Honor, ask and answer.
I sustain the objection.
You get the name and a telephone number to a manager, McDonald's, is that fair to say?
Sir, I just stated that. Yes, sir.
Okay. You pass that information along to Homicide Detective Thorpe, City of Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
And he is the person, Thorpe, fair to say? Is that how he spells his last name?
THROPE. Yes, sir.
And you pass along that information to Detective Thorpe? The
Yes,
phone
sir.
number. Did you, Detective Dennis, do anything further to obtain the surveillance video from that McDonald's?
It was nothing else to do, sir.
Because it's Detective Thorpe as the lead detective, is that why?
Correct. I was given the information that particular persons were at the location shortly after the homicide.
Mhm.
I was proactive in going to the McDonald's, went there, it was video cameras outside. The young lady was not very helpful. She obviously knew that we were police officers and she was not willing to give us information regarding their camera systems. So I asked for her general manager's phone number and name, which she gave me, and I in turn passed it along to Investigator Thorpe.
And that was pretty much it as far as as far as you know, I'm not asking you to speculate, Detective Dennis's involvement with obtaining information for the video.
I did not do anything further to obtain video.
Okay. Let's talk about, you mentioned with the ladies and gentlemen jury, and I don't remember the address. If you can tell them where it is, that would be helpful. The Green Store. Can you tell them where that's located?
It's at the intersection of Glen Street and I believe it's 490 Glen. I think that's the address, 490 Glen Street.
Thank you. And I call it the Green Store.
That's the neighborhood name for it. It's a bright green store.
Okay. Do you know the real name or the given name of it?
I don't.
Okay. And that's the color. That's what you're
The
saying.
color of the
outside.
building.
All right.
Mhm.
Now, on January 11th, the early morning hours of January 11th, 2015, did you receive information or thereafter that Kenneth Copeland stated that he
Objection,
was,
Your Honor, as to hearsay.
I sustain the objection.
okay. Ignoring what anybody told you. I'm not offering for the truth, by the way, but okay. Did you have information that that location that you just referenced, the Green Store, that was also a place of interest concerning Donovan Thomas's murder?
Objection, Your Honor, Faye and Hughes.
I sustain the objection.
Did you do anything, or one of your members, your coworkers, to get any type of interview of people at the Green Store?
I don't recall receiving information about the Green Store.
Okay. So is it fair to say then you didn't try to get surveillance video from the Green Store?
Why would I get surveillance video from the Green Store if I had no information that the Green Store was involved?
Well, your coworker tells you if you didn't know directly.
Your Honor, I object as to ask and answer.
I sustain the objection.
All right. 2015, 14, that area. You were working alongside of Homeland Security personnel who are under the city of Atlanta. Is that what you said earlier? There were some people designated to Homeland Security. They work for the city of Atlanta, though.
I didn't say I was working alongside of them, no.
They're coworkers. They work at the city of Atlanta Police Department. They get videos.
Say again?
Faye.
I'll sustain the question. You can rephrase, Mr. Steele.
They get videos. These people, they help.
Who are you talking about, sir?
Remember you said, and I can't remember the gentleman's name or the young lady's name, but you said that there was somebody who helps secure videos.
Investigator Teague?
I think it is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And isn't he under, I know he's with the city of Atlanta, but isn't he under Homeland Security? Am I wrong?
At the time, I believe they may have been under, yes, it was Homeland, yes.
That's fine.
I don't know what he's doing now, but at the time, yes.
And I'm going to 2014, 2015.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember them having the ability, when I say them, Investigate Teague or you or your law enforcement agency, getting cameras that were all over the city of Atlanta?
Objection.
License plate readers, they call it.
I'll sustain the objection.
Do you remember that?
Objection, Your Honor, Faye.
I sustain the objection.
Do you remember license plate readers cameras? Do you know what I'm talking about?
LPRs?
Objection, Your
Yes.
Honor, Faye.
I sustain the objection.
Do you know what LPRs are, and can you tell the jury?
Objection, compound.
That's
I'll rule the objection. You can answer the question, madam.
LPRs, license plate readers, are cameras that are throughout the city and major intersections or just areas throughout the city that captures license plates as they go through that particular intersection. And if an investigator or a police officer would, need to search that particular area looking for a particular vehicle, it records the actual license plates from the camera system.
And that was in effect in 2014, 2015?
Objection, Your Honor, Faye.
I'll rule the objection. You can answer it.
I believe they were.
All right. I'm not saying you did it, but did you or your teammates seek to secure the license plate readers through relevant places, including the McDonald's?
For what?
January 10th, 2015.
I was not the lead investigator on that case.
I understand. I'm not pinning it on you. I'm just asking you, did you do that?
No, I did not.
That
I
would
was
be
not the
for-
lead investigator for that case.
That's a Detective Thorpe issue.
Correct.
Okay. Were you in the room or looking in the room? So, from a two-way mirror or a camera when Detective Thorpe was interviewing on video, audio, Kenneth Copeland on the early morning hours of January 11, 2015.
I believe I answered that, sir.
What's the answer?
I've already answered the questions regarding the interview with Kenneth Copeland just after the homicide.
Okay. I don't remember ever seeing this, so
Sir,
could you
I've
do me a
answered that
courtesy?
question.
I understand. And I apologize asking you to answer it again.
It's okay,
You-
but I've answered that question, sir.
Okay, so could you answer?
I'm gonna ask the court
Yeah,
instructed, I'm gonna
Jack
ask
asked
the court
it.
to instruct the witness to answer the question. She can't make her own objection.
All right, madam, if you can answer the question, but I'm gonna sustain the objection. It's been asked and answered. So let's move on.
Did you see Kenneth Copeland put his cell phone
Objection,
on the
Your
desk
Honor. Assuming
where
facts that are
Detective
not
Thorpe-
evidence.
Let me finish the question.
where Detective Thorpe was speaking with him at the City of Atlanta Police Department on early morning hours of January 11th, 2015?
Objection, assuming facts are not in evidence. Your
I
Honor.
sustain the objection.
did you personally see Kenneth Copeland put his cell phone in the middle of a table with Detective Thorpe?
I sustain the question. Let's move on, Mr. Steele.
Okay. You ever speak to a person of interest or a suspect, and they bring to that meeting where they have on their person a cell phone, their cell phone?
Objection, relevant.
I sustain the question.
Do cell phones carry a lot of information that may be useful to clear a person or implicate a person, potentially?
Objection, vague, Your Honor.
I think
I'll
that's-
sustain the question.
Is there a reason that you know that you, Detective Thorpe, whomever, on January 11th, 2015, did not take Kenneth Copeland's cell phone from him or seek a warrant to do
Objection,
so?
Your Honor. Assumes facts not in
I
dispute.
sustain the objection.
Okay. It's a tough crowd this morning.
Your Honor,
With regards to-
Yeah, you disregard the commentary, Mr. Steele. Okay.
Joking.
All right.
With regards to, it is not favored. Remember saying that it's not favored for people to speak with the police? Remember saying that just a couple of minutes ago?
Favorite, I believe that's your word.
It may be,
No, I didn't say favor, sir.
okay? Whatever word you have. That premise,
Mhm.
were you aware that Jeffrey Williams
Your Honor,
encouraged
I'm going to object as to any.
Kenneth
No, sir,
Copeland
Your Honor,
to go
objection,
to the
objection.
Hold on.
police
Stop, Your
department?
Honor, please. Sorry.
Hold on, folks. Miss Weaver's pretty good, but only one person at a time. The question you started to ask Mr. Steele is objectionable, so I'm going to sustain the objection.
Do you have any information that Jeffrey Williams
Your Honor, I
did not
object.
Let him finish. Let me see what it says.
encourage Kenneth Copeland to speak with law enforcement on the early morning hours of January 11, 2015?
I'm going to sustain the objection. It's improper. Improper question.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Matthews? All right, Mr. Garner? All right, Miss D. Williams? All right, Mr. Weinstein?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Miss anybody else? Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. May retired investigator, detective, dentist be permanently or temporarily excused?
Gaither.
Gaither, be permanently or temporarily excused as a witness?
Temporarily, Your Honor, but we don't
Okay.
expect that we'll be calling her back, but just in case, we don't know.
May I join in that and the subpoena that the state has on Detective Gaither?
Your Honor, I would object.
Mr. Steele,
Mr.
at this point in time, I don't think we should cover that. Can we cover that in just a minute?
I'm answering your question. I don't
No,
want,
can we cover that in just a minute?
whatever you say.
Okay, all right, just give me a minute. We'll cover that, okay? All right. Madam.
Sir.
I'm going to temporarily excuse you as a witness. That means you'll be subject to being recalled at some point in time. We will give you plenty of advance notice as to when and if you need to be called as a witness. I just ask you to not discuss your testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you want to take 10 minutes? Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be in recess for about 10 minutes and then we'll call you back and see where we are at that point in time, okay? All rise. Okay. He's like, I'm ready. I'm ready. He's like, you're just tormenting me. Boy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our jury has left us. Okay, Mr. Steele, I didn't want to take that up in front of the jury. Your request to join in the subpoena because you're not required to present any evidence. And in the abundance of caution, you may make that decision at any point when the appropriate time comes. But I don't think it's proper for you to state that in front of the jury. Okay, so I will acknowledge the premise that certainly if you've served a subpoena or whatever else, but that's not for their consumption at this point in time, the jury, that is, okay?
Yes, sir. I did not serve a subpoena. That's why I was asked if I could join the state subpoena.
Okay, but that's something we can take up. That's why I wanted to take it up now, outside the presence here in the jury, because you don't have to present anything in this case. And the law provides you with great flexibility to decide whether or not, as I've mentioned many times before, as to whether or not you and any of the other accused in this case decide to present a case at all. And if you just change your mind, that's your purview. But that's why I want to take it up outside their presence in hearing, okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so to the extent that you serve a subpoena on her as well, if in fact you decide you want to do that, that's all well and good, but I think that she will be made available again as a witness, okay? All right. Okay, before I give you all your break, is your next witness in pocket?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who is that?
It's Senior Patrol Officer T. Finney.
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and take 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and we'll come back in and we'll see where the day leads us, okay? All right, we're recessed.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today it is clear these lawyers have a tough crowd. That is, the prosecution and the judge were going at the lawyers for the defense. And one of the defense attorneys got their phone taken as well. So this, ladies and gentlemen, the testimony today was very interesting. I have some issues with Detective Gaither, and I'll tell you why. Instead of just answering the question when when Attorney Brian Steele was questioning her, because he probably legitimately didn't remember. Why is she saying, well, I answered the question? No, answer the question again. The respect that she has for the defense team is obvious. She doesn't have respect for the defense team. Why do I say that? Is because she's being very a matter of fact with the prosecutor Love when she's being questioned. But when it comes to the defense attorneys, Max Shard, Brian Steele, it's a total different tone that she's using. And that, ladies and gentlemen, can be read by the jurors. Now, will the jurors see that she was being disrespectful to the defense? Will that be something that may play to the defense's favor? Well, I don't know. I just have an issue with the way the line of questioning, our responses from this witness. Also, what I found was really, really odd was that she didn't have any notes, but she was very clear on a date almost 10 years ago. How is that? Is she reading from notes? Because she didn't make her notes available to the defense team. But why is it that she remembered notes in particular? I would surmise that she may have had an opportunity to review the notes. Any good investigator, private or public, will look at their summary notes in preparation for trial testimony. It's a tool that investigators have at their disposal. Review the notes and then be prepared for trial. You don't walk into a courtroom and I see this is only my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, but she's walking in as the expert, but most experts retain notes. They retain notes because it is highly likely that they will be called back in for a case. For example, John Doe gets convicted in 2024. He has at least up into 4 years in the state of Georgia to perfect an appeal, up to 4 years. So in the interim, a Superior Court judge can grant a new trial. And granting a new trial means that those witnesses that testified in the previous trial may now have to come back in to give testimony again. What is the best way of having your testimony intact as a witness? To retain notes. But we are to believe that this detective, former detective, investigator, sergeant, whose job at the time was to supervise other investigators, and her job was to write reports. Remember, she's a supervisor. She's a manager. Her job is to supervise her underlings in the job that they're doing that she did at one point in time, and that was to be a great note taker. But for some reason, this particular investigator doesn't have notes. Put a 1 in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys have an issue with this investigator, telling these lawyers that she doesn't have notes, because I have an issue with that. I also have an issue with the time when the lawyer, Brian Still, was communicating with her via email, and they were trying to schedule a Zoom call, but for whatever reason, because of former investigator Gaither's job, because she's on tour, she's on tour right now. She's working with a basketball team right now. I can say that because it's public knowledge. She's on tour right now, so she travels all over the country. So I can understand that a Zoom would be the best way to communicate with the lawyers because she's on tour. But what I don't understand is why she's not making herself available to both sides fairly, equally, and in pursuit of justice. It does appear that she is she's a prosecution witness, and she's being less cooperative for the defense. And I have an issue with that. I don't like people playing in my face, and I'm sure the lawyers don't like people playing in their face. And this does show that there may be a possibility that she's being less than candor to the defense. I got to call it as I see it. We can't play games. This is like the judge said early on, and last week he said this to the prosecutors, and also Mr. Still. Keith Adams echoed that their clients have a right to a fair trial, and they are presumed innocent. So doing things like this does show you a different side of how this game is played. This doesn't happen in all cases, but I would have an issue with any witness, an expert for that matter, coming in, recalling dates 10 years ago, but don't have notes. Because that's the first thing the prosecutor would say, where are your notes? Where are your notes? This doesn't seem like it's being a game, the game's being played fair. If you got notes, make your notes available. Is there something in those notes that would show that these defendants may be innocent? Is there something in those notes? What is in those notes that she doesn't have? I don't know. This witness, I'm not comfortable with this witness. I'm not comfortable with this witness, and I'm not comfortable with the ruling based on, and these are seasoned lawyers. This is a seasoned judge. I'm wondering why he doesn't have an issue with this investigator retired in 2020. And we know why she retired in 2020 is because she along with 400 plus other officers had an issue with the administration as it related to how they were handling protesters. And you do remember the 2 college students that were beat up and tased. I was outside that night when the mayor of Atlanta at the time, Keisha Lance Bottoms, declared a curfew. She declared a curfew the same day. So there were people already out and about, could have been traveling out of town, coming in. And these 2 particular students a Spelman student and a Morehouse student were tased, dragged out the car, and there were officers that were responsible for this. So why would you leave your job because of authority? And they saying this is how we have to do things. You then go to DeKalb County for a couple of months to be an investigator. Did you keep notes in that? Because you left that job too. What did you do with the notes? I don't know. I'm having issues with this. I'm not ranting, ladies and gentlemen. I'm feeling uncomfortable about this. And usually, if my gut tells me something, I'm pretty much right about it. Something's not adding up here. Let's talk about the way these rulings have been coming down the pipeline. And let's also shout out to Judge Glanville today. He's not sneezing in the microphone. He's not doing that. He's doing what he should have probably been doing a couple of days ago, coming in with the cough drops, the suppressor, to bring all that down. You got to have the cough drops, sir. You got to have the cough drops. I don't have a problem with sucking on the cough drops. Pause. I prefer that than him coughing and sneezing into the microphone. It just doesn't, it's not good for the footage. This is being broadcast all over the world, sir. The cough drops are good, sir. Those Halls or Vicks. I was a Vicks. I had it. I used to take Vicks when I was younger. The little yellow ones. The little yellow ones. My grandmother used to give me the green ones. I hate the green ones. But those yellow ones, they had a soothing. I hope you got the yellow ones because they soothing and release all whatever's going on inside you. So I have no problem sucking on the cough drop. I don't. But don't get those sounds used as a soundbite, Judge, because you don't own the rights to it no more. They may grab those sounds and use it for something. I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, I have to take a 2-minute comfort break. They're taking 5 to 10, 15 minutes comfort break. I'm going to take 2 minutes. I'll be back. With that said, have your questions ready. Drop a comment in the comment section and make sure you're following the Hip Hop Inquirer. I am your host, Mr. Dennis Byron. I'll see you in a minute.
If we could take our seats, please. All right, Deputy Ham, all our jurors present, sir? Yes, sir. All right, summon our jurors, please.
All right, Judge Glanville, you get 2 sneezes. Well, hold on. Now you get about 2 or 3 today, sir. You got cough drops now. We want to keep it at a minimum. Keep it at a minimum, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you, Deputy Ham. All right, State, call your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The state called Senior Patrol Officer T. Finney for Acts 39 through 40.
All right, summon Officer Finney, please. Officer Finney, good morning, sir. If you could come, please approach the witness stand, please. Once you get there, if you'd be so kind as to turn and face Sergeant Ingram, who was sworn as a witness before you sit down, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. First name is going to be Tyrone, Tyrone. Last name is going to be Finney, Finney.
Good morning, Senior Patrol Officer Finney. How you doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing well. Can you tell the jury, I see your uniform, where you work?
For the city of Atlanta Police Department.
And how long have you worked for APD?
16 years and like 10 months.
What do you currently do?
I investigate burglaries in West Atlanta.
What zone is that?
Zone 1
And how long have you been investigating burglaries in zone 1?
since 2018.
What did you do?
I'm sorry, 2018. Yes, ma'am.
What was your first assignment in APD when you started?
When I first started, I was on patrol working the overnight shifts in Zone 1.
And what parts of the city, like what beat did you work within zone 1 back then?
I worked the whole zone. I was a roustabout.
So you travel all throughout zone 1?
Yes. I worked the whole zone. I was a roustabout.
Now, how long were you patrol in zone 1?
For approximately, roughly like 8 years.
And after doing those 8 years on patrol, what was your next assignment within APD?
I got promoted, and then I made senior police officer where I was out training the new officers who were coming on the department.
How long did you do that?
For initially it was a year and a half, and then I got assigned to school detectives. Well, I worked in the school for 2 years.
So is that, what do you call that? Is that an SRO?
Correct.
And what does that stand for?
School resource officer.
So what schools did you work when you were an SRO?
I worked at Kennedy Middle School and Forest Hills Academy.
Where is Kennedy Middle School within Atlanta?
It used to be over there off of James P. Brawley. It's closed down now. It's shut down now, excuse me.
And where's Forest Hills?
It's off of Cleveland Avenue, off of Forest Hills Drive.
And what part of this, okay. And was Forest Hills, what kind of school was that?
It's going to be an alternative school for the kids who got put out of school for various reasons.
And what grades did it have when you worked there?
It was middle school and high school, excuse me.
So like 6th through 12th grade?
Correct.
Now, can you tell me about your time when you were in SRO? Like, what all did you do? Did you interact with the students? What did you handle?
I interacted with the students when they came to the school. We used to have conversations about life, about them getting on the right track, basically just trying to show them that they should go opposite direction to get out of that environment.
Officer, hold on. Officer Finney, can you do me a favor? Can you speak up just a little bit?
Yes, sir.
All right, no problem. Thank you, sir.
And Officer Finney, when you worked there and talked with the students, did you have any interactions with street gangs?
Yes, some of the kids advised they were part of street gangs over there.
Confrontation, hearsay.
I'm gonna sustain this to, and ask that you rephrase.
Yes, Your Honor. So you worked for, was it 2 years, you said?
Yes, at Forest Hills Academy. Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you work Monday through Friday, or how many days a week did you work there?
5 days a week, Monday through Friday, correct.
And when you worked there, would you have, how often would you interact one-on-one with students?
It was throughout the day. I used to talk to all the kids throughout the day most of the time.
And when you talked to these kids throughout the day, was it for any case you were working, or why were you talking to the kids?
Oral, sir.
Just to talk to them about life, trying to get their lives together, to get out of that environment.
So when they talked to you one-on-one, they were just confiding in you, talking about life?
Yes, correct.
And would you or they, how did gangs come up in those conversations?
Objection, that's irrelevant.
I'm gonna overrule the objection, Mr. Adams. Let me see this down.
They used to just talk about life and why they was there. Some of it was for gang stuff. Some of it wasn't. Some of it was for discipline problems outside of gang stuff. There's just multiple different reasons.
And what gangs did you come across when you worked with students?
It was the Bloods and the Crips.
Was there any other gangs that you're familiar with other than the Bloods and Crips?
Some of the kids used to identify themselves as YSL and sex, money, murder back then.
Objections to confrontation and foundation.
Your Honor, I have a response. I don't want
I'm gonna overrule the objection, sir, at this point.
And was this through self-admission, or
Objection to the leading question.
I sustain the objection.
did you ever see or have any conversations about tattoos?
Yes, about getting them on their face.
Overruled.
I didn't hear you.
That was Mr. Matthews' vague.
And when speaking with the student, I'm sorry.
And your response here.
Overruled.
Thank you.
And SPO Finney, did you ever have any conversations or see, when you personally worked at the schools, any hand gestures or anything that came up while you worked there that students would display?
Sometimes they would do like handshakes, but that was all.
And I want to talk to you about after that. Is that when you, or after you worked as SRO, what did you do next?
I went back to Zone 1 working on the evening shift from 2016 to 2018.
And then since 2018 to now, you've been working burglaries in Zone 1?
Correct.
When you work burglaries, like what kind of, is it mostly commercial or residential you respond to?
It's going to be both residential and business burglaries.
And what kind of stuff do you do while working burglaries?
Contact the victim, look for video footage, checking fingerprint stuff.
Now, working in Zone 1, or I'll also say this, when you started Border Patrol to now, have you been post-certified?
Yes,
And back on April 26, 2015, were you post-certified?
yes.
So I want to talk to you, kind of take you back in time to April 26, 2015. SPO Finney, were you working as an SRO then?
Yes,
And did you ever have or work in your time in APD in extra jobs?
yes.
Can you tell the jury what are extra jobs?
It's a part-time job that we work off duty.
And when you work these extra jobs, do they have to be approved?
Yes,
Do you have to get permission?
yes, you have to get signed off by your chain of command.
And how does that work? Like, do you choose the extra jobs that you work, or how does that go?
Yes, if somebody asks you to work, you can advise them, yes, I know you want to work.
And if you're working an extra job where you've gotten the permissions, are you able to wear the uniform while working that job?
Yes, you're in uniform.
Do you have your firearm on?
Yes.
Prior to April 26, 2015, what type of extra jobs have you worked while employed in the Atlanta?
I worked the old Turner Field, Mercedes-Benz. I'm sorry, it wasn't Mercedes-Benz back then, but the Dome and also the nightclubs.
When did you start working in the nightclubs in the city of Atlanta?
Around 2010, 11 timeframe.
Okay. And what nightclubs did you work at?
At the moment, it was just compound nightclubs.
Okay. When did you start work? Or let me ask you this: where is the compound nightclub?
It used to be located at 1008 Brady Avenue. It's now closed.
And is that in the city of Atlanta?
Correct.
What year did you start working at the compound?
I'm not 100% sure on the exact year.
That's all right. How frequent would you work there? Was it a couple times a month, a couple times a year?
Probably 2 or 3 times a month.
And would other APD officers work with you?
Yes, it'd be a group of us working.
Now, on specifically April 26, 2018, were you working an extra job that night?
Yes, I was.
And where were you working?
At the compound.
And when you were working that night, was there any other officers that were working with you?
Yes, there was quite a few officers. I'm not exactly sure who all the officers were, but there was quite a few officers working around.
Was there any of those officers that you did know?
Yes, retired investigator Dennis was working with me at compound that night.
How often would you work with retired detective Dennis?
Usually every time I worked. At the compound, sorry.
Do you have any present day interaction with retired detective Dennis?
Yes.
What do you all do currently?
Oh, we're friends, and then we do Clippers and Cops together.
What's Clippers and Cops?
Counter relevance.
Overrule, sir.
Basically it's just it's a group of retired officers and current officers who go out to the community, basically trying to bridge the gap between the police and the community.
And what cities does that operate in?
Right now, it's operating out of Atlanta and St. Louis.
Now, on April 26, 2015, what was going on at the compound that night?
On April 26th, the compound had Lil Wayne working. Had Lil Wayne coming to the club for an appearance.
So can you kind of break that down? What does it mean to make an appearance at the club?
Basically just come in and show his face and talk to the crowd, possibly.
So is it different than a concert?
Correct.
And when people, how often was it that celebrities or entertainers would come make a guest appearance?
Objection, relevance.
Overrule, sir.
It just depends on what was going on in the city.
Since you've been working at the compound, had you ever had Lil Wayne appear there for a guest appearance while you were working?
Prior to that day, no.
How is a guest appearance different than a concert? Can you break that down?
Concert, they will be performing. Guest appearance, they're just coming in with their entourage and just hanging out, basically.
Now, back in April 26, 2015, how big a deal was it to have Lil Wayne as a guest appearance that night?
It was huge. It was overly crowded that night.
Back then, did you yourself ever listen to Lil Wayne's music?
Yes.
And around what time did you get there, if you remember, to the compound that night?
It's probably gonna be around 10 p.m.
Now, in general, how late is the compound open?
Until 3.
Okay. When you got there, how does it work to get assignments or positions?
We will all be placed in different areas just for crowd control and traffic control.
What specific area at the compound was kind of your area of operation, so to speak, that night?
I was at the corner of Brady Avenue and 11th Street.
Okay. And now that night, was it raining that night?
No, it was clear.
And obviously, you get there at, what did you say, 11 o'clock or 10?
Around 10, it was between 10 and 11.
So was it dark outside?
Yes.
Is there any lighting on Brady Avenue and 11 in that area?
Yes, it'll be lit up very well.
So I'm gonna approach you with some photographs. I'm handing State's Exhibit 3 through 7 Echo. Now, Edgar Finney, I'm gonna talk a little slower. We're gonna slow this down a little bit. Is that all right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna approach you with States Exhibit 3 through 7 Echo. So if you can, just take a look at those, and when you're done looking at them, just look up at me. Do you recognize those?
Yes,
How do you recognize those?
that's going to be the intersection of 11th Street and Brady Avenue.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of how the area of the compound, Brady and 11th Street looked back in 2015?
Correct.
Your Honor, this time the state's going to move to tender and evidence States Exhibits 3 through 7 Echo.
Any objection to States 3 Echo through 7 Echo?
No, sir.
All right, States 3 through 7 Echo are admitted and be published as you see fit.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'm publishing States Exhibits 3 Echo now. And just to kind of orient the jury, Officer Finney, are these, what are these? Are these photos? Are these Google images? What are these 3 through 7?
It's going to be the location of where the intersection of 11th and Brady from back then, because currently it looks totally different than it does in these pictures.
Has that area from today till now, how has it changed?
Basically, they put an apartment complex up on the corner of 11th and Brady now.
Got it. Will talking through these photographs help your testimony in discussing this area?
Yes.
So with States Exhibit 3 Echo, can you orient the jury to where, if anywhere, in this photograph is the compound? And if you want, it may help you. There's a screen kind of behind you. See
Okay.
that? If it's better, maybe more clear, better quality in this photograph.
The compound's going to be located in between where like the wooden like fence structure is.
Okay. And what I may do is we'll kind of work together with, I'm gonna give you this pointer, all right?
All right.
And there's a bigger screen up there. That way you and the jury can all follow along. Can you kind of orient to where the apartment compound is in 3 Echo?
It's going to be right here to the right hand side.
Now, you said that this main street is Brady.
Correct.
What is that side street to the immediate left?
That's going to be 11th Street.
Now, in 3 Echo, okay, can you point out 11th Street for the jury?
It's going to be right over here on the left side of the picture.
Okay. Now, do you see where, in general, you were stationed on April 26, 2015?
Correct. I was standing right there on the corner of that picture on 11th Street and Brady Avenue.
Can you point and show me kind of where you were?
It's going to be right here.
Okay. Now, I'm going to publish States Exhibit 4 Echo. So is this the photograph we were just looking at? Can you orient us to this photograph?
That's going to be the fence area right there on the right hand side.
Is the compound?
Yes.
And that's Brady Avenue, the street right there?
Correct.
Now, on April 26, 2015, you see where there's that, I think it's a black Nissan kind of between that building and the fence?
Yes.
Kind of tucked back, you see that?
Yes.
What would this area be used at on April 26, 2015?
That was the area for the VIP, also known as the section line.
Okay. Now, I'm going to, and is this where you are right here? Is this near, far from where you were stationed?
It's right across the street.
I'm going to publish States Exhibits 5 Echo. So with 5 Echo, you had mentioned earlier that this area has developed. You see all that grass and shrubbery to the left?
Yes.
Is that how this area looked right across from the compound back in
Yes,
What's there now?
that's gonna be the apartment building.
Okay. And from when you got on shift to when you left, is this area, this intersection where you worked primarily that night?
Yes,
And if you were to go all the way up 11th Street, is that 11th Street to the left of this photograph?
correct.
What street would you run into?
Hal Mill,
And back then, where would people park when they were attending the nightclub?
they would utilize the streets and they also park in the lots around the area as well.
I'm gonna publish 6 Echo. What is that up on the hill on the upper right side of 6 Echo?
I believe it used to be like a car detail shop.
Okay. And could people park on both Brady Avenue and 11th?
Correct.
And from this point of view, you see, do you see that fence you were talking about where the compound is?
Correct.
Could you point out for the jury where the compound is in this photograph?
It's gonna be up on the upper left-hand side of the picture.
And you can stand up if you need to.
Okay,
Upper left hand?
yes.
And so I'm going to, where this night was Detective Dennis in relation to where you were?
We were standing at that corner at 11th and Brady, right here where the truck is.
Okay. Now, I'm going to approach you with state's exhibits 8 through 31, Echo. If any defense counsel wants to see, matches. Right. 31. Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness with 8 through 31 Echo. Officer Finney, if you can take some time to just look through 8 through 31 Echo, and when you get done, just look up at me. What is 8 through 31 Echo?
It's currently how that area looks at 1008 Brady, or
And,
10th and, I'm sorry, 11th and Brady,
and how do you recognize it?
from being in the area.
And would referencing those assist your testimony in the jury here today?
Yes,
Your Honor, at this time, are they fair and accurate depiction of how Brady Avenue and 11th Street looks present day?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this time, the state's going to tender in evidence, state's exhibits 8 through 31 echo for demonstrative purposes.
Any objection to states 8 through 31 echo?
Not that any objection, no.
All right, they're admitted and they be published as you see fit, sir.
Now, I'm gonna jump around a little bit from how those numbers are, but we're gonna start with 22 echo. So, you had mentioned, Lord Wayne was having a guest appearance. What is this structure we see in 22 echo?
That's going to be one of the entrances to the club.
Okay, and, you had just discussed it, but is this how the area looks present day?
Correct.
And is that structure, is it any different, or is there any difference from back on the night of April 26th?
No, it's still the same.
Okay. Now, back then, would this be like the front entrance, the side entrance? What kind of entrance would this be?
That'll be the general admission line.
Okay. Do you remember how much it was to get in there back then?
I have no idea.
Okay. Now, you see where there's this, I think is that a bike lane on the roadway?
Yes.
And you see those cones?
Yes.
Was that right outside the entrance of the compound back in April 26, 2015?
No.
What was there?
It will be parking and there will also be some gates for the entrance to get into the club.
Okay. Now, when you say gates, is this like gates you'd see at like a baseball game, like to tell you where to go, or lines for like a concert?
Correct.
Okay. So like gates that come up to like your waist?
Yes, directional gates, correct.
And would you have one line, multiple lines? How would that work?
It'll be multiple lines.
Okay. And would some cars be able to park on this part of Brady Avenue?
Yes.
I'm going to show you 20 echo. Is this another view of the front entrance to the compound?
Yes.
Now, present day, well, I'll say back then, was that fence structure still there?
Yes.
And can you kind of explain, is the compound, is it an indoor, an outdoor? What is, if you were to walk, if I was to walk right through these doors, what would be behind me on the other side?
It'd be like a open area for like outside parties during the summertime.
Okay. Was there any seating or anything back there?
Yes, it was couches outside.
And you see those numbers, 1008?
Yes.
What is that signal?
That's the address for 1008 Brady Avenue.
Okay. And I'm going to turn to 18 Echo. You see that building back behind the fence, kind of towards the left?
Yes.
What is that building?
That's going to be the actual main part of the compound.
Okay. And is this a closer in view of the front entrance to the compound?
Correct.
Now, will there be security at this part of the compound on April 26th?
Correct.
Would there be security at that VIP side entrance we talked about earlier?
Yes.
I'm turning to 24 Echo. Is this another view of looking down Brady Avenue?
Yes, that's going to be correct.
And is this looking towards, what's the first street you will reach if you were, you see that car coming on the side frame?
Yeah, so that's going to be the corner of 11th and Brady.
So from where you were stationed, how far close were you from the front entrance to the club?
Approximately like 20 yards.
Now, this may be hard to see, but bear with me. You see, very back, you see like what looks like a bluish sign, you go all the way down Brady?
Yes.
And can you point out for the jury kind of where that is and what I think, can you tell me if I'm wrong, a stop sign?
Yes, that's affirmed. That's going to be a stop sign at the intersection of Brady and 10th Street.
Okay, so it goes 11th Street, 10th Street.
Correct.
Turning to 15 Echo, is this that area that you were stationed at that night? Or roughly?
It's going to be the general area.
Okay. And that's the compound on the right that you were talking about?
Yes.
Now, back then, you see where it says opium on that building?
Yes.
What was that, is that part of the compound or was it back on April 26, 2015?
No, it was not part of the compound.
16E is zoomed in. If someone was coming through this VIP entrance you discussed, where would they go once they walk through that gate right there?
There was two doors
On the right or left?
on the right-hand side.
Okay. And where would security personnel be stationed for people entering the compound through this way?
Right beyond them gates.
Okay. And this is another picture of that?
Correct.
Now, 8 Echo, do you see where you were stationed that night in 8 Echo?
Yes, I was stationed at that stop sign, in the area of the stop sign. So.
Now, I want to talk to you about that night. What time was the event supposed to start? Or what time was, Lil Wayne supposed to appear?
I'm not sure on what time he was supposed to appear, but the club was open from 10 to 3.
10 to 3. And when you first got there, had Lil Wayne arrived yet?
No,
Do you remember him ever arriving at some point while you were on shift?
I don't recall him arriving.
Okay. As in, did you ever personally see him arrive or realize he got
No.
there? Now, I'm going to publish 29 Echo. Do you know where what side street is this right here?
That's going to be the intersection of 10th and Brady.
Okay. Now, do you know or remember learning how Lil Wayne got to the compound in his entourage?
It was going to be on a tour bus.
Okay. Do you know where that tour bus parked?
It was somewhere in that area over there.
And by over there, can you point for the jury where it was?
Right here.
Okay. And just to orient the compound where you were stationed, would that be to the right or left on 29 Echo?
It'd be to the right.
Okay. And when he got there, for someone to make a guest appearance, what part of the club would he come in?
The VIP side.
Okay. When he arrived and came in, did you, was there any issues when he got there?
No,
Okay. Was anyone threatening him or anything when he arrived?
not that I can recall.
Okay. Now, where you were stationed, what was the crowd like that night while you were on shift?
It was steady busy. It was just a lot going on, but it was calm for the most part.
And was it comparative, size-wise, was the crowd average, larger, smaller? Than normal night you worked at the time?
It was a little above average.
And were people clamoring to get in or jumping over fences? What was it like for people waiting to go inside?
Oh, it was calm. Everybody was just trying to basically get inside the club.
But when your shift first started, did you have any issues at the beginning part of your shift with any patrons?
No.
Did that ever change?
Yes.
I'm going to publish 11 Echo. Was there ever a part in the night, or can you tell the jury what happened while you were working at corner of 11th Avenue and Brady on April 26th? What happened?
Okay. While working that night between, I want to say approximately 2:30, 3 o'clock time frame, we observed a group of males, about 25, 30 males, loitering in the area of 11th and Brady right there. We basically told the males they had to leave. When the artist came out, I guess they got word somehow, not sure how, that he was.
I sustained objection.
Okay,
Now, we're gonna break this down. Right?
gotcha.
So, can you show the jury where it was that you first saw this group of 25 to 30 males you just described?
It was going to be at the corner of 11th and Brady, right up there,
And where were you stationed roughly when you first saw them?
in the same vicinity.
Okay. What first drew your attention to this group of males?
Basically, they were just hanging out on the corner, and we saw them, and it was just, it just looked out of, it wasn't ordinary, basically, put like that.
Now, do large groups usually appear at the club that time of night?
No,
What time was it again that the club closed?
at 3.
And in that group, was it females, males, a mixture?
I just recall males.
Okay. And what do you remember them doing, like you first see them? After seeing them, what are they doing?
After we initially told them to leave the location, when they started running towards the area where the tour bus was, they were basically just yelling, yelling, basically.
And when you say we, was there other APD officers nearby you?
Correct.
Now, when you say they were yelling, like, what were they doing?
They were just yelling. I'm not exactly 100% sure on what they were yelling as far as all of them, but it was just being basically just going on, ranting and raving, I guess you want to say.
Okay. Now, when you all officers approached them, where were you trying to get them to go, or
We were trying to get them to go back towards 11th Street.
what direction were they heading towards?
At the time when we tried to get them to go back towards 11th Street, they were going towards 10th Street.
Okay. And when you said raining and raving, what makes you say that? Like, what were they doing to? Yeah. Can you explain that a little more?
Basically, it was just like, I'm not ranting and raving. No. It was like,
You're not going to object to cause of speculation and ask an answer.
Your Honor?
I will respond. Hold on a second, sir. I'm gonna overrule the objection. You can answer it.
Now that you got some time, what was the group doing?
they were just like being disruptive. And they were making like gestures, disruptive gestures, basically.
What do you mean by disruptive gestures?
Like they were trying to get towards to the area where the bus was located at.
Okay. And so looking at 11 Echo, what would the bus, can you kind of describe where the group was directing this to? Like where would the bus be in relation to this photograph?
It'll be to your right.
And I'm gonna, 11 Echo, so did you recognize anyone in that group?
Yes, at the time I recognized Pee Wee.
Okay, and you say Pee Wee, do you know what his name is? Is that a nickname?
Yeah, it's a nickname.
Okay.
I know him from the club scenes throughout Atlanta over time.
Okay. What was who you knew was Pee Wee doing when you saw him?
He was basically the leader of the group. He was in the front yelling out obscene.
Objection to any hearsay.
Your Honor, I have a response to that.
Yes, sir.
So Your Honor, what SBO is a co-conspirator statement? I'm happy to approach the bench if I need to.
Now, what's your approach?
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me give you my understanding what is happening. The individual that the prosecutor was speaking about is Pee Wee, or I don't have his last name, but he was arrested in relationship to the shooting of Lil Wayne's bus, but he ultimately his case was reversed. He was rearrested once the indictment came down for this RICO case. Now he's the individual that I know of because I'm in the Atlanta scene, but he's someone that was at the compound that night, and according to what the prosecutors alleged in the previous case, he was the shooter. For a number of reasons, the trial judge in that case was reversed, and as a result, this is going to come out during testimony. While they mentioned this, I don't understand if this is going to be, how is this connected to Young Thug again? With that said, I will be in the courtroom shortly to document it. We see this officer. They're gonna probably break for lunch, so I'll be heading to the court. I'll be in the courtroom. This is lunchtime anyway, so.
That would be fantastic, Mr. Weaver, if you have that.
Sorry, guys. Here we go.
Question was, what was who you knew as Pee Wee when you saw him? Answer, he was basically the leader of the group. He was in the front yelling up scene, and then he didn't finish.
Okay, that's to the objection. As mentioned earlier, I will overrule the objection for the basis given the court's current ruling.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And I'll give you continuing objection. Mr. Adams. Okay.
What did you hear, who you knew as Pee Wee say when you were right here, on April 6th?
After we told them to leave and they were going back up toward 11th Street, Pee Wee yelled out, "This is my city, keep fucking around and we'll spray the bus." And that's when Pee Wee took off running up 11th Street.
Now, when you heard that, what did you take it to mean when you said spray the bus?
I think he's gonna shoot the bus up.
And I want to approach you with one exhibit, 32 Echo. Your Honor, I showed this to the defense counsel. I'm handing the witness what's been marked as 32 Echo.
Correct.
Do you recognize or take a look at that? And what is 32 Echo?
It's gonna be Pee Wee
And how do you recognize him?
from the club scene in Atlanta.
Is it a fair and accurate picture of how he looks?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this time, the statement was to tender and evidence 32 Echo.
Any objection to 32 Echo?
No, sir.
All right, 32 Echo is admitted to be published as you see fit.
Thank you, Your Honor. Publishing 32 Echo, is this who you knew as Pee Wee?
Correct.
Okay. Is his name Jimmy Winfrey? Do you know that?
Yes, that's correct. Jimmy Winfrey's.
And when he made the statement about spraying the bus, how far away from you was he?
Probably about like 10 feet away.
Okay. Did he say it quietly, loudly, softly? How did he say it?
He yelled it out loud.
Was it clear what he said?
Yes.
When he said it, was there anything concealing who he was, like a mask or anything like that?
No.
Now, after he said that, or let me ask you this. While this is going on with the group of males, I'm going to publish 25 Echo, and what Winfrey said, did anyone from Lil Wayne or their entourage exit the compound near this time and come outside?
Not in front of 11th and Brady, no.
Okay. Where would they have come out at?
Down by 10th Street.
Okay. And when he made that statement, who was he looking towards or?
He was looking towards the corner of 10th and Brady Avenue, excuse me,
Okay.
when he yelled it
And
out.
10th and Brady, in this photograph, you see where there's that white vehicle kind of down the way? Is that the intersection of 10th and Brady?
Yes, that's gonna be the area of it.
And where this little small cone is that kind of where you would have been?
Correct.
Did you know anyone else in the group other than Jimmy Winfrey?
No.
After hearing that, what did you do?
I advised Investigator Dennis what he had just said, but people took off running up 11th Street at that time.
Okay, so I'm going back to 11 Echo. Would he take up running this 11th right here at the left side of the screen?
Yes, he ran up towards Howell Mill on 11th Street past that stop sign.
Okay. Now, when he took off running, was it slow, fast, a jog? How would you describe it?
I don't recall.
Okay. What was his demeanor when he made the statement? Was he calm? Was he smiling? Was he sad? Was he angry? What would you describe him when he made the statement?
I don't recall. It was just, I don't recall.
Okay. Was he by himself when he made the statement, or were other people around him?
When he made the statement, when he made the statement, he's with the whole crew.
And do you recall any gestures or anything to anyone that Winfrey or anyone in that crowd was making?
No.
After he went up 11th Street, did you ever see him again?
Yes, probably about between 2 to 5 minutes later, Pee Wee came back down 11th Street towards Brady, driving a white and color Z28 Camaro, and he stopped at the stop sign while I was standing in the middle of the street of 11th and Brady.
Okay. I'm gonna go to 6 Echo. Where were you when? Is this Brady and 11th Street?
Correct.
Where were you when you first saw him in this vehicle?
Where that white line is in the picture,
Can
excuse
you
me.
point for the jury?
Right up here.
Okay. And where was any other officers nearby you when?
Dennis was probably like 15 yards away from me.
Can you point for where Dennis was?
He was gonna probably be right here where the double yellow lines are.
Okay. Now, I want to also approach you with one more photograph. Your Honor, I've shown defense counsel 33 Echo. I'm approaching Senior Patrol Officer Finney. Can you take a look at that? Do you recognize that?
Yes, that's gonna be a white and colored Z28 Camaro.
Okay. And is it a fair and accurate depiction of how that vehicle that you saw looked on April 26, 2015?
Correct.
Your Honor, the state's going to tender for demonstrative purposes 33 Echo.
Any objection to 33 Echo, gentlemen?
No objection.
All right, 33 Echo is admitted, may be published as you see fit.
So, SPO Finney, you said, I'm going to use this stick along with you, that, did you say that the car was, where were you, or where was the car when you first saw it? Right there? Okay. I'm going to publish 33 Echo. I'm going to give this back to you. Is that vehicle look like the car that Jimmy Winfrey was in that night when you saw him?
Correct.
And when you saw him, I'm going to go back to 6 Echo. How much time had passed since he ran up 11th Street when you saw him in that car? Like, was it minutes? Was it hours?
It was between 2 to 5 minutes.
Okay. And when you saw him, what if I am you? Is the car coming on my right side or left side?
I was on the I was standing in the middle of the street,
Okay.
so I was going to be on the driver's side.
Okay. What I'm going to do is, Your Honor, I have what I'm gonna mark as 6 Echo Alpha. It is the exact same photograph as what's published on the screen, 6 Echo. I'm gonna have SBO draw. So SBO Finney, I'm approaching you with 6 Echo Alpha, and I'm gonna give you a Sharpie. If you could, can you draw, can you kind of annotate on that where you were, where the car was, and where the detective was? And is that 6 Echo Alpha that you're writing on, is that, other than your writing, the same photograph as 6 Echo is published on the screen?
Correct.
What did you,
Um,
can you kind of describe for the jury, using the pointer, what you drew on 6 Echo Alpha?
yes, I put the car exactly where the white line is, and then I put myself right there below the car, and then I put Investigator Dennis in the middle of the street.
Okay, so you said you put, is this the white line you're talking about with the car?
Correct.
And where, you tell me where to stop, where you would have been?
Right there beside the white line.
Okay, like here,
No, go over.
here, this way?
Yeah,
Okay,
right
you would have been
there,
here.
Right there.
Got it. And where would Dennis have been?
In the middle of the street by the manhole cover.
Okay, by here?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was his window down or up?
It was down.
Okay. What did you see when he drove past
I saw a black assault rifle butt up in the air, and with the muzzle of the weapon pointed towards the ground of the car.
you? Okay, so was the gun in the passenger side of the vehicle?
Correct.
And so the muzzle was down and you said the magazine was up?
No, the butt of the gun.
Okay, butt of the gun. And you said a black assault rifle. Do you know a common gun that it resembled?
Assault rifle. I can't give you a make or model.
That's fair. How close were you to the car when you saw the black assault rifle?
I was right there, like a foot, less than a foot.
Now, did Mr. Winfrey, did he say anything or look over at you in any way when he drove past?
He looked at me. He said something to me, but I don't remember what it was. And then once I noticed the gun, I invited Dennis to stop the car, and that's when Pee Wee sped away, going northbound on Brady Avenue towards Howell Mill.
Okay. Now, how quickly were you able to advise Fire Detective Dennis?
It was like seconds.
And what did you tell Investigator Dennis?
That I saw the gun in the passenger seat.
Did he have a reaction to that?
Objection on prosecutor.
I don't recall.
I sustain the objection.
Was there any steps made to try to detain that vehicle that went through the shop?
I don't recall anything else happening.
Now, you said you sped off down Howell Mill. I'm gonna show you, this 23 Echo is, you know how we talked about that wooden front entrance to the compound earlier?
Yes,
Where is that in relation to 23 Echo?
right in front of it.
So would it be to the right or left?
That'll be to the left.
Okay, so you see where that street pole is, kind of on the sidewalk? To the bottom left of the 23 Echo
Yes,
is the compound with the two doors, the wood structure, is that to the left?
yes. It's gonna be to the left-hand side of it.
And after he drove by you with the assault rifle, he traveled
North on
down
Brady.
northbound?
Yes,
And does Brady Avenue, as it currently does back then, have this kind of curve around?
correct. And it runs into Howell Mill.
Okay. Was he, after he drove by you, was he driving slowly, quickly?
He sped off.
Okay. And you had testified earlier that present day, this area looks a lot different. Was this large apartment complex or building?
No, that was not there.
Now, you stated earlier that you had been working at the compound. Well, how many years roughly were you working at the compound between, or before April 26, 2015? Like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Probably about 5.
Okay. And you had been working there a couple times a month?
Correct.
Okay. How many times in that span have you ever witnessed someone with an automatic weapon?
Never.
How many times since working there did you ever hear someone threaten to spray a bus?
Never.
I state the objection.
SBO Finney, did you ever write a supplemental report to this afterwards?
Yes.
How did that come about?
After basically 30 days that went by, I was called about the incident, and they advised me to do a supplemental report to what I saw that day, and that's how the report came about.
And did you, do you know if Investigator Dennis, did he ever have you involved with any follow-up with this?
I'm not aware. I'm not sure.
And have you ever had to write at the compound that you've been working a supplemental report after an extra job you worked there?
Objection relevance.
I'll state the objection.
So in present day, or let me ask you this, after this incident, how do you view what that night present? Like, how were your nerves during this?
I state the objection.
Why did this incident stick out in your mind?
Objection relevance.
You,
Also facts, not evidence.
I state the objection.
do you have some memory of what happened that night? SBO Finney?
Objection, Your Honor. Bolstering self-serving and he's just testifying.
Overrule, sir.
Yes, I have. I mean, the biggest thing about that whole situation was the gun being in the car and all them guys on the corner on loitering.
And other than, compared to other nights you worked at the compound, why does this stick out?
Because they could have went south if we weren't out there.
No further questions at this time. Thank you, Senior Patrol Officer. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we have any further examination, how about we take some lunch? Okay, all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how about we come back for 1:45? All right, let's do that. We'll be in recess until 1:45, and we'll come and get you and continue with our examination, all right? Okay, all rise.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the lunch break. And as I stated, I will be inside the courtroom. Please follow me on Twitter and watch the updates as it comes out of the courtroom from inside. So we're going to be looking at all the people in the courtroom. And yes, I will be wearing my mask. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you guys inside the courtroom.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our jury has left us. Officer Finney, we'll see you back at 1:45, okay? All right, thank you, sir. Don't discuss the testimony of anybody except the attorneys in this case, all right? Okay,
Something I need to, some of the witnesses.
okay. All right, our witness has left us. Yes, sir.
Judge, I'm going to make objection. I'm objecting to the, both the question and the response.
In regards to what?
In regards to the witness testifying that this could have, quote, gone south. It goes to future dangerousness. I think that's impermissible. I would ask that last question and response be struck, and also that a curative instruction be given to the jury to disregard that statement and not consider it in any way in their deliberations.
All right.
Your Honor, SBO Finney is the sole witness who heard Jimmy Winfrey, to the state's knowledge, make this statement of spraying the bus. Furthermore, he is the witness who saw him with an assault rifle a couple of minutes later. So his credibility as the single eyewitness is paramount to if the jury believes that Jimmy Winfrey made that comment and had an assault rifle in that vehicle. There's obviously other evidence, other witnesses that will come about, that Jimmy Winfrey in fact did spray up the bus in that vehicle with an assault rifle. But all that aside, his credibility and the reason that the state asked that question is why does it stick out to him 9 years later? And compared to any other night at the compound, what SBO Finney had expressed to me is stuck out because he realized the seriousness of it. Here's someone make a statement of shooting the bus. He sees that same person a couple minutes later drive by with an assault rifle with the butt up and muzzle down, driving off quickly, and he knows in present day that the bus was shot. And so his memory of it sticks out more so than just someone who made a threatening gesture at the end of closing time or something like that. It has a different seriousness to it. That's why the state asked it. And that's why the state feels it's relevant. And certainly does not think the curative instruction needs to be asked because the jury ultimately is the fact finder and has to determine the credibility.
Mr. Adams, I'm going to overrule your objection, okay? I'll note it for the record.
On the record, just very quickly, Judge, just as very brief response that it is not relevant. He did testify to the factual aspect of what happened that night. He testified about the assault rifle. He testified about his observations. He testified about what was said. There is no necessity. There's no relevance to the jury hearing this officer's testimony and speculation about the fact that the court could have gone south. It does, in fact, go to future dangerousness.
It doesn't go to future genders, sir. I disagree with you about that.
I just said, other than in the death penalty case, that type of statement is not relevant, certainly not in this set of circumstances. So I would renew my objection, and I would ask for a curative instruction after his question and statement be struck.
All right, I'm going to overrule your objection, sir, and your request. I'll note it for the record. And we'll go ahead and continue the examination of Officer Finney when we get back, okay? All right, enjoy your lunch. We'll see you in about an hour.